Everyone, it's Andy in the Boomer TV studio, and the season continues now with Darla Noble and phenomenal grandparenting. Join our awesome Bloomer Boomer community and platform featuring live programs like today, all about living the best life you can after 55. And now welcome Darla Noble and phenomenal grandparenting.
Well, hello, everybody from Southwest Missouri. We are going to transition today, though, from grandparenting to another form of quote unquote parenting that most people refer to as being a caregiver. Uh, and and if you are in that position or have been in that position or know someone, you know that it is indeed a type of parenting. Today, I want to start this series by talking about things that you need to do well in advance to needing to be a caregiver or to have a caregiver. And a lot of these things, guys, are things that we don't want to think about or that we don't like to think about. And, we're always in that mindset of, oh, well, we'll do that later, or it's not time for that, or who wants to think about that now? Or you might be in a position where there are some family dynamics that make you want to keep it on the back burner as long as possible. But guys, there are things that you need to be thinking about and talking about and doing right now, whether it be in preparation for being a caregiver to your spouse or being cared for by your spouse or for your aging parents or in-laws. So I'm just going to start right now in talking about those things. And there's a few questions that I know I have been given already, and maybe Andy has some, or some will come in along the way. So, the first thing I want to say is you need to have conversations. You need to have a conversation with your husband or wife. You guys need to sit down and you need to talk about what you want to do, how you want to be taken care of. Let your feelings be known, let your thoughts be known, so that when the time comes, and if the time comes, that there won't be any of this, well, I hope I'm doing the right thing or that sort of thing. Okay. You need to make your wishes known and you guys need to work out things that are important. Okay. Such as aging in place, staying in your home. Can you stay in home? And we're going to cover that in a little more detail here in a little bit. But, what would be the precipitators for leaving your home or um, hiring outside help or nursing home care, that sort of thing? The other conversation you need to have, and this is the harder one to have, is with your parents. Okay. Now, for me, it was my grandparent, but you need to have those conversations and you need to say, I need to know what you want. I need to know where your cutoff is as far as when I, you need to discuss where their wants and their desires need to take a step back and what needs to be done is done, where you step in and take over as the parent. Okay. And there's where that comes in. I could and I will share some stories along the way, but one in particular, Granny would say, I don't want to leave my home. I'm just fine. I'm just fine. She had dementia, she had Alzheimer's, and and it was only by the grace of God and me going to her house multiple times a day, driving into town from the farm multiple times a day to make sure her medicine was taken, to make sure she had something to eat, to make sure she was dressed and clean and that sort of thing. And it just kept going and going and going. Um, but there needs to be some communication, a lot of communication. There are some conversations you may need to have with your siblings. Um, if there's more than one of you, if you're not an only child, who is going to be the primary caregiver? How are you going to share these responsibilities? Who's going to do what? Who's going to be in charge of what? You need to have these things taken care of, or at least discussed, and to some extent. Granny. It was so funny because one of the sweetest things that she would say over and over again, she said a lot of things over and over again, but throughout the every day, multiple times a day, she'd say, I don't know why God just doesn't take me. This isn't living, this is just existing. She knew things weren't right, but yet she didn't know how not right they were. And then she'd say that all year long until about this time of year. And in Missouri, this is when it's starting to get really cold and winter's starting to set on. And she'd say, I don't know why God just doesn't take me. This isn't living. This is just existing. But I want him to wait till spring now. And I'd say, the first time I'd say, well, Granny, why do you want him to wait till spring? And she'd say, well, I don't want you to catch a cold standing at the cemetery. And so, she knew enough, but she was still wanting to take care of me, but even though I was the one taking care of her. But you need to have these things in place. You also need to have some conversations with your children. You need to let them know that in the event that you need a caregiver, or that mom or dad needs a caregiver, and that you guys are taking care of each other, what you want done, when you will allow them to step in. Because, guys, there's going to come a point in time when you think you're a lot more capable than you are. I know I was there for a couple, 3 years with Granny, and and she was just dead set on certain things. And out of love and respect for her, I did whatever I had to do to not usurp that authority and that control in her life. You need to do that. So those are some practical things as far as conversations. Now, I said something about aging in place. This is where you really need to get practical. You need to take a look around your home. Okay, look at your home, look at it carefully, look at it through the eyes of someone who is dependent on a walker or a wheelchair. um, are the doorways wide enough for a walker to get through them? Okay, because by the time you need that, you are not going to be able to really maneuver them sideways to do that. You need to make sure that that is happening. The doorways, stairs. If you have a home where, that's two-story home, um, is there a bedroom or a dining room or an office, or like a formal dining room or some type of room that you can convert to a bedroom and a bathroom for you, so that if you don't want to leave your home, if the rest of your home is conducive to aging in place, that you can have everything on one level if you need to? Or is there a way that if you need to for a while and you are still perfectly capable of maneuvering those stairs and everything, if you have to bring a parent or parents into your home, is that home a place that can accommodate their needs? Like, again, with the walker, um, you need to think about, like, garages, steps getting in and out of the garage. You may be perfectly capable of driving, or you may be, but your spouse may not be as able to get up and down the stairs. You need to think about those things, about putting a ramp that they can go up and down in a walker or a wheelchair. You need to think about things like carpet. Will you be able to maneuver a wheelchair or power chair or things like that? Is there outlets that are, if your home is older, um, is the power is such that it would be able to accommodate oxygen or power supplies for power chairs or things like that? Light switches, are they high enough or low enough that you could reach them from a sitting position? Um, think about if you would be able to use your cabinets. Could you use the cabinets, resituate things so that you could get to them? the things that you need most often in the lower level. Bathrooms. Guys, bathrooms are the number one hazard of a senior citizen. I'm not talking an 80-year-old. I'm talking 50 and 60-year-olds even, falling, just being a little off balance, that sort of thing, slipping and falling. Do you have a walk-in shower? Um, a tub is a great thing, but that was one thing we ran into, that I ran into with Granny, is being able to get her. She didn't have a walk-in shower. Being able to get her over into the tub to sit in a bath chair. It was hard. And that was a major obstacle for us. While you can, and we're going to get to this thing in a minute, in this topic in a minute, make the adjustments to your home where you can age in place, or if you don't think that's going to be possible or cost effective, now is the time to downsize. Now is the time to downsize if you think that is what you are going to need or want to do. Because trust me, you want to do it when you have control over where you live, choosing the place that you live, the neighborhood, what you can and cannot keep, um, of all your things, the accommodations that you have, the layout, having a home, a newer home, or a different home that is conducive to still entertaining and having your family in for holidays and things like that. But yet being one that is good enough and has all the accommodations and things that you need for you or you and your spouse to age in place gracefully and independently. You want to be as independent as possible for as long as possible. Okay, I'm going to move on now to what is called spending down. And this, guys, is the most crucial and important and most overlooked aspect of being a caregiver or needing a caregiver. And this is also the thing that A, can cause the most problems, and B, needs to be taken care of long before you even need a caregiver. Okay. Now I'm going to start out by saying that depending on the state you live in, the rules are going to be different. Every state has some different rules and guidelines as far as amounts, but um, by and large, if you want to avoid giving your entire estate and everything that you have worked so hard to save for, to leave to your children or to enjoy in your retirement years, to a nursing home, if you or your spouse ends up in a nursing home, you need to be preparing now, because even though the amounts are somewhat different, varying from state to state, overall, Social Security, and Medicaid, and this is where it comes into play. Medicaid will not allow you to have more than $1,500 to $2,000. And guys, that's nothing. And that is nothing in a savings account. That is all, guys. Now, and I mean, and that's not just in savings, that's in assets, as in a second vehicle, just one vehicle, a second vehicle, a second home, a vacation home, not your primary home, but a vacation home, um, IRAs, CDs, things like that. That is all they allow you before they will allow you to um, hook up with Medicaid, for Medicaid to cover the cost of the nursing home care. Otherwise, it's going to come out of your savings, your assets. Okay, you will have to liquidate your assets to be able to to pay for the nursing home care. Now, the other thing that you need to realize before we get into the The good news side of that is that you can't just automatically say, oh, I have to go into a nursing home, or oh, my husband needs to go into a nursing home, or oh, I got to put mom into a nursing home. So we need to liquidate all of this stuff 2 months or 6 months before we need to put her in the nursing home. It doesn't work like that, guys. 5 years. In some cases, it's 2 years for certain types of assets, but they look back 5 years. Okay. So that's why I'm saying you need to start planning now. Okay. You need to start planning. You need to start having these conversations. You need to start spending down now. Okay, I'm going to stop before I go with the good news side of that and see if Andy has any questions. And if Andy, if any questions have come in, great. If not, I'm going to start with a couple that I have gotten.
Well, John has a question that kind of relates to what you were just talking about. He wants to know if he should check on any legal requirements he needs to have.
Yes, there are so many things that you need to do. You need to remember that each state, you need to check with your specific state, and the best place you need to go is your Social Security office. Social Security, Medicare, you need to know what the guidelines, what the stipulations are, what the timelines are for spending down before Medicaid will take over the cost of the care of a nursing home. Okay, for a nursing home situation. Okay, that is the first place you need to go, and they will be able to give you the answers that you're looking for. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Well, this is from Patty. She thanks you for bringing a different definition of grandparenting. She says it's not the kind that she thought that much about until now. She worries about her brother, though, who spends so much time with her father who's aging, and her brother, she worries, could injure himself, and she just wants to know what if there's anything she should advise him about.
Okay, the brother injuring himself and caring for the father.
Exactly, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, and that can kind of feed into what I was gonna talk about next. Help, get help. There are things that you can do, like there is equipment that you can use to help you help your aging parent. And I realize with men, it's usually men helping their dads, and women, or in my case, helping their moms, or in my case, grandmothers, because there's that modesty issue there, especially with older people. They don't want to do that. I know Granny a lot of times would say, when I was bathing her, cleaning her up and things, she'd say, oh, honey, you shouldn't have to be doing this for me. And I'd say, well, you gave me a bath, and you changed my diapers, and you cleaned up after me, and you cleaned up, you were there for me. You were there for my kids. It's my turn, Granny. It's just my turn. But there are medical care equipment. So one thing I would suggest you guys doing is go to a medical supply business, a local medical supply business, and they will have some great people there that will help you with, like, lift chairs. And I'm not talking about power chairs like wheelchairs. I'm talking about lift chairs like recliners that are powered, that where they can kind of tilt up to where they can help your brother lift your dad into like a wheelchair, or lift him up to get a hold of his walker, to where he can move around and things like that. Walk-in showers and shower chairs, a walker that you can, and if he doesn't have a shower, to lift over, the walker can lift over into the bathtub and then situate onto a bath chair, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of things that you can do that way. Otherwise, getting some help. Also, he can wear a belt, kind of like a hernia type belt. That a lot of nurses will wear sometimes in lifting heavy patients. There are also some things to do if your dad has trouble getting in and out of bed. There are some metal arms, like hospital bed type things. If you don't want to convert to a hospital bed, I totally understand that. But there are attachments that you can get that will have like a pulley system, to where he can pull himself up, to where you don't have to be pulling and tugging on him to lift him up and help him get his legs on the side, swing his legs over to where he can get up easier out of the bed. So those are some practical things that you can do. Do you have any more questions, Andy?
Far, that's what's come in so far right now.
Okay, well then I am going to cover, just lead off on that. As far as the good news on spending down, some things that you can do if you haven't had the opportunity or the knowledge or don't have the time. If something bam happens and you don't have the time to spend down, things that you can do during that time of need, that can help you and help save, save being put in a nursing home and save you from giving all that money to a nursing home. One of them is, and I know this may sound kind of morbid or whatever, but it's not, people. Buy your funeral, pre-plan your funeral. Um, Once again, the nicest thing my grandparents ever did, okay, for us, because long before they ever needed it, they went and they pre-purchased their funeral, and paid a certain amount that would take care of everything but the digging of the gravesite. And guys, my granny died. She was 96 years old, and she died on my 52nd birthday. And a few hours after she died, I was sitting by myself in the funeral home, um, talking about what songs and what, who the pallbearers would be, and picking out the little memory cards and stuff. But everything else was taken care of. She'd picked out her casket. She had, I mean, they had the gravesite, and it was all paid for. I didn't have to worry about it. It was all paid for. And I cannot tell you what a blessing that was. And it was also, now, and I mean, and it was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars less than it would have been because she did it so long ago. Okay. And we went through the same thing with my grandpa when he died, before, several years prior to that. Um, the average funeral's like between 15 and $20,000, and it just keeps going up, but you can prepay that and get it done, and your kids don't have to worry about that. Okay. So do that. And that money is money that your kids won't have to worry about. It won't have to come out of the state later. And if your money was all taken by a nursing home, then your kids wouldn't have to come up with that money later. Okay. And people say, oh, well, Social Security will take care of that. Social Security gives you a few $100s, like $500 or less, toward a funeral expense. Okay. So don't do that to your kids. Spend your money, some of your money, on prepaying your funeral. Just do it. Okay. It's smart. It's money well spent. It is a burden off your children. I cannot stress that enough. Okay. Other ways that you can spend down. Okay. If you're in need of a caregiver, you can pay for home health care. They're worth their weight in gold if you can find a good one. But you can also pay your family member. Okay. Patty, I think you asked a question. You can pay your family member for caring for your parent, okay? Or you can pay your child for helping you care for your spouse or to take care of you. Now, it has to be a going rate, and there again, that's going to vary by state. You need to look in your area, in your state, what home health care workers make, but you can pay for that. And that money will not be considered, that's money that is considered a logical expense. Healthcare expenses, if you have hospital bills, you can pay that money down on that. Medicine, things like that. You can also use money in your savings, your retirement accounts, your CDs, whatever, to make your home a home where you can age in place. Those modifications I was talking about remodeling bathrooms for walk-in showers, removing carpet to where there's just floors that are to where they're easier to clean and easier to keep up, to make modifications to cabinets and stairways into ramps and wider door frames to where you can get in and out easier. All of those modifications can be taken care of using money that you have in savings or CDs and stuff that they cannot complain, that they cannot say, oh, you can't do this. And that's money that um, that that a nursing home would not end up getting. And then you could also be able to have hopefully some help from Medicaid for some of the expenses. Um, and those things are like doing those things for your home. Okay. That is nothing that is going to distract from the value or take away from the value of your home when you or your children end up selling it to settle your estate once you have passed away. None of that is going to distract. It's only going to add value because people are going to see that and think, oh, wow, we could be here for a long, long time. Or someone in their 40s or 50s or just getting ready to retire may be wanting to downsize from a great big rambling house that's 2 or 3 stories and see this home and say, this is a home where we could age in place. This is the place for us. And so it could be such a great thing, and it will save you from throwing your money away. Okay. So let's just sum this up real quick. Have conversations. Have conversations with your parents, your children, your spouse, your siblings. Okay. Have those conversations. Do your homework. Check with your state and federal agencies to see what you need to do and when you need to be starting to plan to do it so that somebody doesn't end up with your money that you don't want to have it. Okay. Take the steps, do what you are legally and ethically able to do to start spending down. Buy your funeral. I'm going to say that again. Buy your funeral, buy your funeral, buy your funeral. Great gift to your kids and to your spouse. Modify your home and just do these things that can be taken care of. Now, pay someone to care for you in your home, because if you have dementia and things like that, or if your loved one has dementia, they will be healthier longer if you don't take them from their home. And think about these things. Do these things, guys. Plan. It's never too early to plan these things, even if you never have to use them. I just really urge you to be a caregiver before caregiving is needed. I realize we are just about out of time. I want you to feel free to ask me any questions. You can email me at dnoblerights@yahoo.com. Check me out on Facebook at dnoblerights. dnoblerights.com is my website. Next week, I hope you will tune back in with me next week. We are going to talk about some more practical ways to prepare your home for being a caregiver. We're going to get into some detailed things about that. And then the next week, we're going to talk about the emotional side of being a caregiver and how to deal with some of the situations that are going to come up. Okay. And then following that, we're going to talk about taking care of the caregiver, because caregivers need to be taken care of too. Okay, so anyway, that is all I've got for this week. Andy, do you have anything else before we say goodbye?
Oh, it's amazing information that it really makes you think about planning, and that's really valuable.
That's the first and most important step.
Yeah. Thank you, Darla. We'll look forward to next week.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for watching Phenomenal Grandparenting with Darla Noble. You can find out more on Facebook and on YouTube at bloomerboomer.com. If you like this, please like us on Facebook and follow us. Meantime, get to know Bloomer Boomer, all about living the best life you can after 55.